All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody's having a lovely day. And with that being said, let's get into the TA. All right, so the first thing I am going to point out is what happened this morning. We came up, tested yesterday's low of day, and what happened? You got rejected from there, and you are down to your next support. We are within $1 now of this next support, which is all the way down at 357.59. We were saying over here, once you did end up losing 363.41, that is when this next level was completely on the table, and we thought we were likely going to start heading down there. Now, I'll also bring up what happened this morning with SPY. All right, SPY, well, as we knew yesterday, all right, guys, you did end up flushing. We actually knew the other day. You did end up flushing. We knew as of Tuesday. We called this out. We did flush underneath the 442.97 gap fill. And guess what? Buyers were nowhere to be found. You see this big fat red candlestick. You wanted to see explosive buyers step in at this level. All right. But what did we see? We did not see that. We saw the sellers prevail. It came back up, retested that 443 level, and you got rejected. And as of this morning, you continued. Well, you didn't straight up free fall. You're free falling into the end of the day here, into the close. But you continued that consolidation here, and what was on the table was a back test of that level and then more lows. So I am going to point out you have started free falling underneath the next support at 438.18, and I'm just going to point out that does bring the next support onto the table is going to be 431.50. So that is what we're going to be watching next. And I'm just going to point out, you can have these dead cat bounces, but I do not think these are going to hold. I think, well, you can have these bounces, but I do think they're just going to be dead cat bounces. And then we are going to have that followed by lower lows. Come over to the 5-minute time frame. You actually did have this head and shoulders formation going on. So we did have bearish structure already forming off of the open. We did have a hint of what was to come, but did we know this was going to be happening? You had a little fake out here. I see it right now, inverse head and shoulders here, and you had a cup and handle going on right there. But guess what? It was a fake out, and you did see that come all the way down. Now we will move over to VIX, and I am going to point out you have broken out past this resistance, which does open the door for higher levels, which is all the way up here at 20 bucks. Let's just put that on the chart right here. This was a double top we had going on over there. So that is the next level we will be watching for VIX. We're going to see if you get a complete VIX crush by the end of the day and get one sick, nasty bounce over here in the indices. That is going to be required in order to see VIX not break out here. But what I will remind you guys is this RSI is ticking up. It's at 65. We don't see, unless we're getting a crash, we don't see that get sustained above that level. So I am looking for a long-term bottom to form in the next days. And you guys might call me crazy for looking for a long-term bottom over here, but I'm just going to point out, come over to the weekly charts. Yes, this thing looks ugly, but in reality, this was the last major low. I don't think buyers are not going to step in at this level. Now, will I be wrong? I can be wrong, but I'm just going to point out this is what we were pointing out up here. If you failed this back test, we were saying this was the last major low that was put in on this chart, and it was the flipping of the previous August 2022 high. So if we come back and back test it, it will be nothing but a back test. QQQ, I will point out, all right, this looks slightly more ugly than what we got going over there on SPY. I am also going to point out it's Thursday. We have one more trading session in the week, and you do have what looks like to be increasing volume on the week. As long as we don't have an extremely low volume day tomorrow, I think we will have increasing volume to support these bearish candlesticks on SPY and QQQ. Now, moving over to DIA, I am going to show you something that is also taking place. What do we got going on? We have a back test of where you broke out from. What was this formation you had going on? You had an inverse head and shoulders. This took 6 to 7 months to form on the chart, and then the breakout lasted 4 weeks? I don't think so. I think we are very likely going to see a bounce come out of here, and that is just my personal opinion. If we do start seeing price flush underneath the zone here, then we'll have to start changing our tune. But it's, you know, it's possible that we do end up seeing a wick come down here if we do end up, you know, like getting a flush underneath, and then boom, buyers step in and take it back up. That could happen with a wick. So that's a possible scenario. I'm just going to point out, all right, I don't think, if you weren't already a seller, I don't think it's the wisest move to start joining on this move. Maybe you catch it with the next dead cat bounce. All right. We did point out, all right, bounces are to be sold once we end up losing here. You get these bounces, but you know, I pointed out on Tuesday, buyers were nowhere to be seen in the exact spot that they needed to be seen. They need to be seen like extremely strong here, or you risk coming down here to 438. And by the time you're down to 438, all right, you're kind of, you know, this is a weak support. And the next major, like we pointed out in the weekly video over here on the weekly chart, this is your next major low. So I'm just going to say right now, this is my opinion. I think we are coming down to 431.50. That is my personal opinion. I believe I also expressed that opinion in yesterday's video, now that we lost there. But regardless, going level by level, that is the next spot that we should be paying attention to. And you're currently just in no man's land. Yes, we have QQQ over here right at support. But I'm just going to point out, if SPY is in no man's land, and hey, we're going to see if we get this massive wick going on today. We are going to have to see. But yeah, if SPY's in no man's land with the next support being, what is that, $4 down? Yeah, $4.50 down, then guess what? The QQ is likely to follow it. QQ is the more volatile one. So can you see a minus $8 move tomorrow? I'm not saying you do, but I'm saying it is on the table. Now, what I also will say is the daily RSI and QQ is at 35 over here on SPY. We are at 34. IWM, you are at 30. So just want to put that out there. All right. Just keep it on your radar that things are looking pretty ugly right now. And that is the time that I think, you know, people should be buying. I don't think you wanted to just be sitting there long into it. If you try trading the chop, I tried originally trading this chop, and it'll chop you to pieces. There's no reason to be trading the chop. I'm going to point out what is going to be required, all right, unless you just want to buy the falling knife, all right? I will be trying my shot at this next area of support, 110% guaranteed. I'm doing it. I'm looking for SPY longs. I'm looking for DIA longs. I'm looking for IWM longs, all right? And then I'm also looking for Apple longs at the level that we've been watching, which is the next one. Once we broke down from there, which we did start breaking down this morning. So that was the first thing I ended up letting the Discord know is I think Apple's about to tank the market, because Apple started right off the bat this morning just tanking below where it needs to hold. So, you know, I didn't know if I was going to be right on that, but I'm pretty sure I literally just said Apple's tanking the market today, or something like that. And as you see, yeah, Apple did lead the way lower. You have Amazon over here, did also, you know, go do a little like that. We have Meta going on. Meta is right here, breaking support, and the next level will be all the way down there at 280. So that is something to keep on your radar as well. Now, what I'll also put on your radar is Tesla. All right, I do want to point out Tesla's daily RSI is at 29 now. The last time you saw this RSI at 29 marked the literal bottom before a massive run. Now, do we have different conditions going on now? Yeah, I think they're a little different. You see what's going on here, right? Over here, you just didn't have a straight, like you did have a straight sell, but this is pretty ugly going on right here. All right, it's also following an absolute massive run. So, like, we can also, you know, not be blind to that. But if you do see this thing come into the golden pocket, I think that's probably where you find a major bottom. And I personally, I started buying Tesla shares today. I haven't bought shares since Mara. All right. And that's actually what I'll also put on your radar. Mara. All right. So I haven't touched this thing like with shares since it was down here. But guess what? I think it might be coming into time. All right. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin in this video. I'm going to point out why I think Bitcoin will also be seeing a major low get put in relatively soon. All right, so first things first, Mara is over here. Your RSI is at 33, but let's just forget about the RSI, all right? You are back testing where you broke out from. And I'm just going to point out, guys, you do have this increasing volume. So I do think tomorrow is also going to be a down day. So I don't know what happens there. I'm going to bring you over to Riot. Riot, in my opinion, is looking better. All right, now, is it like, you know, falling more? Yeah, it is. All right, you are down whopping 40% from the highs. If you long this and we somehow get back to the highs, hey, you're up 70%. But I am going to point out the daily RSI is already oversold. So if you really see this thing get beaten down, I think, you know, we could see something like this. But again, different times. This was during your bear market. This is like, you know, going into May, guys. Do you guys remember this? All right. I remember this. Everyone, even myself, I was like, oh, yeah, we could get these bounces, but then we're going to start seeing, you know, lower lows. The lower lows never came, guys. They never came. And I still don't think we're going to be getting down there, but it is possible. It's on the table. But yeah, all right. Now moving over to Bitcoin. Why do I think we're about to be seeing a major low, or we are seeing the major low? Because we're on this trend line right now, all right? So you got two trend lines here. One is they both stem from the same exact spot. One uses the wicks, one doesn't use the wicks. All right, you already completely slashed it with today, and you look like you're going to be closing underneath the first one. So what are we going to do? We're going to take off the first one. It's not relevant to us. Second one is strictly going off of these wicks. All right, so that's what I want to point out. We are currently on it. I don't know if you're going to hold it, but I am going to point out the daily RSI is at 29 right now. The last time you were at 29 or you got under 30, all right, you had one more day. That was, you see this right there. You had that hammer candlestick. So we're going to see if we get a signal candlestick tomorrow, and that will be in tomorrow's video. See if we get a signal candlestick, and I think that could mark a decent run for Bitcoin. Could it just be a dead cat bounce? Yes, because you see, all right, big run, not so big of a run, all right? They are, declining with size here. So we could very well be seeing the start of a bigger decline, but I do think we are going to get a relatively decent bounce here. Now you come over to the second, all right, the second most recent occurrence, where Bitcoin's daily RSI went under 30. And on that day, you also marked the bottom. So you went from 36 down to 24. Now we're not at 24, but my point stands, all right? Underneath 30, marked bottoms. That is what you're looking for. You actually have this third occurrence right here. You actually had a bullish divergence, though. You hit it over here, and you did go on this little decent run right there, 6%. But then from the next bottom, you went on a 20% run. So we can call it 3 occurrences, but I'll stick with these 2 just because this one formed off a bullish divergence. Regardless, I mean, 2 or 3 occurrences marked the bottom with Bitcoin's daily RSI down there. I don't want to just sit there relying on indicators. I am just pointing out, like, if you've been waiting on your dip buy opportunity, I think it's happening across the board. I strongly believe that is exactly what we're getting. But again, there are things suggesting we go lower. I know I got a bunch of arrows going on over there, but Apple, again, just something in no man's land. I think you go lower down to this next support, all the way down at 171. You had no buyer step up at the gap fill right here. All right, you had buyer step up underneath it, but guess what? You didn't even reclaim it. So I do think we could see a dead cat bounce, but I think we're probably going to be going lower just looking at structure, all right? You got nothing over here on Apple. On SPY, you got nothing. QQQ is a different story. You're right above support. So, I mean, we could be getting, buyers stepping in there. But I do think, yeah, if SPY and Apple go lower, it's probably going to, lead QQQ lower. But we're also going to see if VIX sustains this breakout. We'll have to be paying attention to that as well. But again, DIA, this is the thing that, like, hey, I think this thing is not justified to come back into this pattern. I mean, it can, because price could do anything it wants, all right? But I am just going to point out, this is something we've been calling out since we're up here, since this first red weekly candlestick. And now we have this big fat red weekly candlestick coming right back into this back test. So, guys, what we were talking about back there in the weekly video, whenever we saw all these bearish engulfing candlesticks pop up on IWM, QQQ, DIA, guess what? We're finally seeing them play out. And, I think it is going to provide to be, a buying opportunity. I'm just pointing that one out. Let's actually look at Mr. Nvidia over here. Let's see how that's going. I know. I'm just going to point out, all right? I was about to say, I know there's a support going on, and there's nothing under that support. That was this. That was the low of yesterday's candlestick. Underneath there, guys, it's another thing that, is in no man's land. You have no support. This is one big, fat candlestick. There's no structure supporting that. You could look on the hourly chart, and again, you have no structure. You have this little one right here, and it looks like that is what it's trying to hold on to. But underneath that, guys, you're really coming all the way back down here at 418, and that could drag down the NASDAQ. So that is something to be noted. So across the board, guys, things are looking pretty ugly. That is what I want to point out. All right. Our little clue the other day at SPY's gap fill, that does look like it was a successful clue, and it did give us hint to where prices were going. We said 438 was likely. 438 is hit. Now you're in no man's land. I think you go a little lower. Can we get a dead cat bounce? Damn right we could get a dead cat bounce. Do you see this thing oversold? You see this thing oversold? What's going on with the 4 hour? You see this thing oversold? Now, where are we looking for this dead cat bounce to go, guys? We're looking at the back test right here, 442 to 443. I know, is that like a large bounce? And people could be convinced that, oh, it's over. Yeah, they could. But I'm just going to point out some things right now. All right. You have a straight free fall. You have a lower low. So what needs to come before we have a trend change here? You need a higher low followed by a higher high. So if we do this, we could get something like this. Maybe we go lower. All right. Or maybe we don't. And maybe we come back here and maybe then we get a lower or a higher low. And then you come and break that. There's your trend change right there. Or you don't do that. And let's say it goes something like this. All right. You come back up, you come down, finally get to this level that we just said is what I think is likely now. All right. You get something like that. And then you start getting a double bottom down there. There's something going on down here to act as a signal to go long. I'm just putting it out there. You can buy your falling knife. I'm going to buy the falling knife. If I see prices get down here like immediately, I think it's going to be a major buying opportunity. I think we're going to see a lot of buyers flood into the market. But in reality, do you have a signal to go long? No. All right. So like if we get this move, people are probably going to be convinced, oh, it's changing. It's changing. But no, I just showed you like, hey, you got no reason to, that's not a signal. All right. And also you failed this level. All right. The fact that buyers couldn't hold this level is not bullish by any means, in my opinion. This is everything you find in this channel. It's all my opinions, my technical analysis. That's that. But if you see it down there, daily RSI will be oversold, and just check it. All right. Even back in March, that, you know, guys, actually, I'm going to point this out. If you want to do whatever you want, but this is something to be noted. Even in March, you didn't see the daily RSI go that low. So, you know, guys, like maybe we did just bottom. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. You know, like I'm just a guy on YouTube. Don't just blindly follow a guy on YouTube. But I am going to point out what I am seeing on the chart. And, you know, this is what I'm seeing on the chart, guys. I think it's likely we do go lower, but I'm also going to point out that daily RSI is at the same exact spot. You had the March bottom. Do you remember this panic? Everyone thought the market was going to crash because of the banks. Well, guess what? We're seeing that same panic going on right now, except, you know, slightly without, you know, there's not really a catalyst to back it. All right. We have had some bearish catalysts come out over the past, like, 2 weeks. So that is, I guess there's that, but there wasn't just one big one to cause panic. But yeah. All right, guys, with that being said, oh, December bottom right over there. Let's actually look at QQ real quick. Where do QQs go? All right. Back in the March low. All right. March low, you still also didn't get down here. And you actually bottomed over here in December when your RSI hit this level. Guys, maybe we're seeing a major bottom put in today. All right, I'm putting it on your radar. Don't turn into a perma bear as the thing just fell massively. All right, I don't want to say massively because in the realm of this was just, a hiccup in the road here. All right, 25%, you gave it back and now you're only up 16%. It's not anything, crash worthy. But I am going to say right there, right? Like, hey, if we got things going on here that marked previous bottoms, don't quote me on it. But, we could, don't say I called that this was bottom. No, I'm saying we very likely can be bottoming right now as we speak. I don't know. After seeing this, I might dip my toes in here. I don't know. All right. With that being said, which I don't think it's likely that's the bottom, but we have signs. All right. Signals, not signals. We have signs. We don't have signals. I just showed you guys what we need as a signal. You need a trend change. You ain't got a trend change until it's there. We ain't got that. All right. So, all right. With that being said, I will catch y'all in the next one. Everyone have a lovely rest of your day and peace.